Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today we're walking through your 2022 Rpod RP190. We are just going to start off the back of the unit. That is going to be where you're going to find your spare tires. Typically we're going to want to match your license plate as well. And then the other side of the unit. Going right down below the floor here, you got your first of 4 stabilizer jacks. There is one in all 4 corners of the unit. The way they work is, of course, you want to level the unit first because they're stabilizing jacks, not leveling jacks. Once the unit's already level, you can take your 3/4 inch drive tool, hook it up to your 3/4 inch drive nut, run this foot down to the ground. Once the foot does contact the ground, just giving another 8/4 turn to snug it up. It's going to take any bouncer sway you see we have in the unit right now away. And just a special note, if you are running them up or down with an impact, just keep in mind how much torque you put on them, as you do run the risk of bending them if you over torque them. We got a storage compartment in the back corner here as well. And then coming a little bit further ahead, your standard 30 amp twist lock connection. You're just taking note of that notch there. It lines up with this notch on this side. Push that in, 8th turn to lock that in. And then if you follow that cord back, you do come to your standard 30 amp plug-in. Most campsites should have this. You can plug right on in, but let's say you have the unit at home and you want to run your fridge, or your campsite only has your 15 amp standard household outlet. We do include that adapter. Just keep it in mind whenever you're using it. You're not going to be able to run your air conditioner. It's just to run your fridge and your lights. You get your first of 2 drains here. You get your gray tank. This is going to be typically your cleaner water, so this will be one of the ones you want to empty last. And then if you come up ahead a little bit more here, this is where you're going to find your black water. This will be the one you want to empty first. This is going to be your dirtiest water, filled from your toilets. Pop that off. Your sewer hose will connect right up there. Get your black valve, emptying that out. That's what empties out all the body fluid. You got 2 fridge service ports, so there's not much you need to worry about there. You got your furnace exhaust. Whenever your furnace is on, that'll be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. Get your fresh water connection, so if you're at a site without service or you're just out boondocking, you just put a garden hose inside of there, fill it up, or siphon some water in. That's what fills your fresh tank. City water connection, so if you're at a site with service, you can just thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the need to run your water pump. And if you come right down below the floor here, you get your 2 low point drains. So if you don't want the water going stale or stagnant inside the lines because you're leaving the unit for a while, or at your end of your winterization process, if you want to crack those open or allow most of the water out of the lines, that's going to be where you do so. And then you get your fresh water cap right here. Taking that cap off, that is what drains your fresh tank. You get your hot water service port. Really, the only things you really need to worry about is the 1.1" drain bolt right down there at the bottom. That is how you would drain the tank. Pressure relief valve, so whenever you first get to your campsite or before you take your drain bolt out, pull that pressure relief valve. There should be a shot of water coming out of there, letting you know that the tank's full. We currently have the tank empty and winterized since we're getting into that winter season, so that when the customer picks it up, nothing's cracked. I'm going to go over the reset procedure inside. The button I'm going to refer to is just right here. Just locks and clicks into place. You get a sewer hose storage right down there at the bottom. Keeps most of the smell out of the unit. And then coming around to the front, you get your battery located inside that box there. Then you get your battery disconnect switch with it in the on position like it is now. The batteries are connected to the unit, turning that to the off position, would then disconnect the batteries from the unit. Inside here, you get your propane tank. It's pretty standard, just like home. Counterclockwise to open up the flow of propane like any standard barbecue. Other than that, this is just a cover. It's held on with that wing nut right there at the front. Once you loosen that off, pull this cover off the tab. You'll be able to pull it right off in case you need to change it out. In here, just another storage compartment. It's also going to be where you're going to find your griddle and your little table, which do attach right onto your accessory rail right here. And then, of course, for the griddle, if you come down below the floor, you get your standard quick connect propane line. So this is plumbed right into your front tank. So when you're using that griddle, you don't have to have a second tank with you. You just use the applied hose that we supply. Pull back on this like any standard airline, insert hose into there, take the other corresponding end, hook it up to your griddle, open up the flow of propane. As an added safety feature, you can't operate the coupler with the flow of propane open. You have to close the flow and allow you to operate that coupler. And of course, always making sure you put your dust cap back into place whenever you're not using it. And then you get your black tank flush. So before we go over anything, it's very important to read the caution sticker. Before you ever use it, it's always important to make sure your sewer hose is connected and your black tank valve is open. And the reason being is if you're pushing pressure inside of the tank, that pressure does have to have somewhere to go. If it doesn't, it's just going to keep building up pressure until the tank eventually cracks. Something you're going to want to avoid. So again, just make sure you read the caution sticker before you use it. Another storage compartment in the back corner over here. And now for the best part, to get inside, you're taking that assist handle, pushing it up, folding it 9 degrees, and locking in place. That will allow you to open up your door. Then you can come to your stairs, lift and pull towards you. They fold themselves down, take that last one, flop that down. That'll allow you to take a step on inside. Once you do come inside, fire extinguisher on the right, pretty much just like home, pull the pin and shoot. And then up on the wall, you get all your switches. So those first 2 switches, the first one's going to do your interior lights so you can see what you're doing. The second one's going to do your porch light, which is that little orange light on the outside. And then you got an awning LED light, which is also there. Then you get your slide out control. Now it's always a good idea before you operate your slide out to just give a quick check. Inside, make sure that there's nothing that's shifted during travel. It's going to get caught in between the slide out face and the wall, causing any damage. And then just of course on the outside, making sure you have enough room to put the slide all the way out without running it into anything. Once you do that, you can just come, push the button out. Slide out's going to start making its way out. And once the slide out's at its full extension, you can hear the motors wind up and quit. Now with this slide system, it is always a good idea to try and do full strokes whenever possible. They don't like doing half strokes. It's just hard on the motors and the drive systems. Of course, it's not the end of the world if you do have to do a quarter or a half stroke. Just try and keep it to a minimum if you can. Up on my left there, that is your stereo for the unit. It's pretty much just like home, minus the fact of zone 1 and zone 2. Zone 1 will be interior, zone 2 will be exterior. You get a nice little entertainment center, TV plugged in on the wall. It's a 12-volt TV, so you don't even need 120 power to power it. The rest of it's kind of just storage, minus the fact of you having your main fuse and breaker panel right down there at the bottom. So whenever a breaker trips, it'll sit in the middle. So you just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. And all the corresponding fuses will be on the right. Inside your dinette space, it's pretty much self-explanatory. You got all your blinds that come down. They do just sit where you leave them. Tabletop, that does turn down into a dinette. You're just having to remove the feet from underneath the tabletop. Set your tabletop on its desired ledges, and then you can take your back cushion to fill in the center in case you were to have any extra guests you weren't accounting for. Into the kitchen area. It's a beautiful kitchen area. Tons of storage inside this unit. Just of course, whenever you are using any of the storage, just be mindful of drains, water lines, and things like that. You're not going to be wanting to affect any of that. Sink, storage down below. You get your microwave just like home. Comes out your stove. Now I'm going to go over a couple propane notes. The reason being is once you turn the system off at the front of the unit or disconnect that bottle especially, it allows air into the system. Once air makes its way in, it does have to purge out. Now the quickest, easiest way to do that is by coming and lighting your stove. And of course, I forgot to grab my lighter before we started the video, but lighting the stove is just as simple as turning that gas over to the high, hitting it with the lighter. Sometimes it can take a few minutes because of the purging. And that's why I'm telling you to come here and do this first, because you get to decide how long the gas runs for and how long you leave that lighter lit for. But of course, because it's a gas stove, you're always going to want to be safe when you are lighting it. So if you have that gas valve on, make sure you have your lighter lit already near the burner. So that way, if there was no air in the lines and it automatically starts pouring out gas, you don't get a buildup of gas and a minor combustion. Because if that were to happen and you had your face nearby, you could lose some eyebrows and eyelashes. So again, just be safe whenever you're using it. Hold your face back, and of course have your lighter lit already before you turn the gas valve on. So that way once the gas does start coming out, it lights right away. It doesn't cause any combustion of any sorts. And the reason that's so important is because if you go to try to fire up your water heater, your fridge, or your furnace before you purge the system, those will only try lighting themselves a couple times, and if they don't light, they're going to throw a fault code. If you don't know what the fault code means, you throw a little wrench in your weekend, and that is something we are going to want to avoid. So again, just come here, purge your stove quick. Now, because we're talking about propane, I'll go over this quickly. You got your LP detector right there near the ground. Because this unit is equipped with propane, it's required to have it. That guy's near the ground. If that guy does start going off, just turn off your main supply of propane at the front, open up some windows and vents, and get some fresh oxygen inside of here. Next, you got your monitor panel system on this wall here. So pushing the button tells you the corresponding level for each tank as well as the battery. Battery goes low, fair, good, and C is charging. And then you got your water heater switch. Turning that on is turning your water heater on. Now it's turning it on gas. It's going to try lighting itself 3 times. If on the third try it doesn't light, this fault light's going to come on and stay on. At that point, turn the switch off, go try hitting that reset button like I showed you earlier, and then try turning it back on. But again, it could just be a purging issue, so always try it twice before you start panicking a little bit. Sometimes it might even need a third try. And as an added extra note for that, before you, again, try to fire your water heater, always making sure it's full is very important. Then you got your water pump switch, which turning that on does draw out of your fresh tank. Fridge over here, pretty self-explanatory. Fridge freezer combo. You do get a little tiny freezer up top, which I thought was cool that they included. Pushing this in, you got your temperature set button, so it goes anywhere from 1 to 9. 9 is obviously going to be the coldest option. Mode. So because beautiful that this came with this, you can either fire it on gas or power. How you choose between them. So right now, that little line is at the AC option. Pushing it again, that's going to go to the gas option. And putting it one more time when you got it between the two, the AC and the auto, that means it's an auto. So when it's an auto, it's going to first search for shore power. Once shore power is taken away, it'll automatically switch over to gas. But again, it's always important that you have the system already purged before you go to try to fire it up on gas. Because if you want to go to try to fire up the fridge on gas and it doesn't light right away and you walk away, it could be beeping and telling you it didn't light and you didn't know, and then you come the next morning, throw all your food inside there, and your significant other is pissed because they think you forgot to turn it on, when in reality it's just a propane issue. So again, always make sure that it lit. If it doesn't light on propane, it'll happen within the first 5 minutes. It'll probably have a little light that pops up here showing a fault, and it'll be beeping at you, so you'll know. So again, just make sure that it does light on propane before you actually walk away. Again, tons of storage throughout this unit, and then down below you get your central vac system. Power switch is on the far left. Turning it on, that is how you turn it on. Slide that over, insert your tool. You can then go around, vacuum what you need to vacuum. If you need to check the bag, you just got to pull in this tab, pull it towards you. That's going to pop that bag out in front of you. And then to get it back into place is just holding it, moving it over. Kind of got to line it up a little bit. Sometimes it can be a little bit finicky. There you go. This is what we call a dustpan system. So whatever you sweep in front of that dustpan, when you lift it up, it's going to suck it into it. Just keep it in mind, it's just for dirt. It's realistically just dirt, dust, and gravel. Not going to want you to stuck any sticks or anything into that because, again, it does all get sucked into a bag. In the back area is pretty much just your bedroom. It's really neat. Rpod does a really cool thing where they got the dual shade feature. So right now it's in the bug screen mode. In case you wanted to have that open, you could. You just have to undo the red tabs. Take these little knobs once you've already opened up the window and tighten them up and where you want the window to sit, and it'll stay there. And then you can either have that bug screen down, or if you lift on the tab, you can close the bug screen. And let's say you want to get it sync at night. You do have a night shade as well. Again, it's going to be all dependent on what you want and what you want to do. TV backer. It is located on this wall here, so if you wanted to mount a TV, it's probably going to be the best spot on this wall. You got the plug-in and the coax as well. Air conditioner above my head. Thermostat is right here. Whenever you're using the air conditioner, you got these two intake screens. It's always a good idea to give these a quick blowout with some compressed air periodically. Just keeps the flow of the AC going. To operate it, it's pretty simple. Push the button once it illuminates itself. Push it again, you're going to go into fan low. Now that's just moving air around using the air conditioner. There's no heating or cooling involved. One more time, you get the fan high. Same thing on a high fan. Push the button again. Now you're in cool high, so that's when the air conditioning is going to take into effect. If you push the button again, you go to cool low. Same thing, but on a low fan. Then if you push that button again, cool low auto. So whenever you got that auto there, that's going to be the setting I recommend using, as it means it's going to be an on-demand system. So if we have the room set to 14 or 15 like it says we are, and the room's currently 21, once the room does reach 15, it'll automatically kill the air conditioner. If you had that on cool, low, or high without the auto there, the fan on the air conditioner is going to run continuously until you actually manually turn it off. Hit that mode button one more time. It's going to do the same thing, but on a high fan, up or down at any time to change your set temperature. Mode button one more time. That's going to take you over heat. Now that's going to kill your air conditioner, fire up your furnace. Your furnace is one entity, runs off propane, so again, making sure it's purged is extra important. And it moves all its air through that one little vent you have down there. So if you wanted to get a fan to push some air throughout, it might be a good idea to invest in one. Pushing that button one more time will psych you over to back over to off. But of course, whenever you turn on your furnace, even after, if it's just for a split second, when you go to turn it off, it does run for an additional 3 minutes just to allow itself time to cool down. Now that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.